Welcome to BioPhobia. Now we are going to discuss about infectious agents. What are infectious agents? Infectious agents are actually pathogen which is responsible for the disease, which is causing some sort of discomfort in our body. Okay? So the pathogens are of many types. It can be broadly classified under viruses, bacteria, other than which we have fungi, helminth worms, and protozoan. So, all these are pathogens or infectious agents which cause diseases. Okay, so first we are going to look about viruses. Viruses, as you all are really aware of now, as we are facing this COVID 19 situation, a pandemic. So, viruses are very dangerous. They are, in fact, uh, dangerous because they do not have any mechanism by itself. It is completely dependent on the host cell. They do not have any special metabolic system on its own. It is only the genetic material of the virus which takes over the control of the host cell and with which they multiply. So, now we are going to talk about the disease caused by viruses. Examples are mumps, polio, AIDS, influenza, etc. Next, about bacteria. Bacteria is also a type of pathogen which is less harm than that of viruses. These are unicellular microscopic organisms and they are prokaryotes also because they have a primitive nucleus. They multiply very rapidly, and the disease caused by bacteria are tuberculosis, typhoid, cholera, etc. Now we are going to talk about the next infectious agent, which is fungi. So, fungi is normally multicellular in nature and it is a eukaryote. When you look into the mode of nutrition of fungi, it is said to be saprophytic. What do you mean by the term saprophytic? It refers to an organism that feeds on dead and decaying organic matter. So, where do you find dead and decaying organic matter? Normally, we have dead cells which are present on the external surface of our body. I mean, the skin cells, you have many dead cells which are formed due to pollution and due to the wear and tear that happens. So, there, these fungal infections can be predominant. Okay, example of fungal infection is ringworm infection. And you know about the fungal infection which is dandruff, which is also caused by fungi, where when you tend to develop more of dead cells on your scalp region, then there would be more dandruff that is formed. Followed by the next pathogen that we are talking about, or we are going to deal about, is helminths. Helminths worms are normally multicellular worms and they are mostly present only in the intestinal region. So, as they are present in the intestinal region, you should understand their mode of nutrition. These are normally parasites. Parasites are organisms which would depend on their host for their nutrition. What do? They do colonize our intestinal region and absorb the nutrients from our body. Okay? Example, Ascariasis, Elephantiasis. Followed by the next type of pathogen, which is protozoan or infectious agent, protozoan, which is unicellular and eukaryotic. Examples of protozoan are malarial parasite and Kala Azar, which is caused by an organism called Leishmania. Now we are going to discuss about the different means of spread of infectious agents. What do I mean by the term means of spread? It is the means of transmission of disease. We call it as transmission just because the disease causing pathogen or the disease causing agents in the case of communicable diseases spreads from an infected person to a healthy person. So it is not that it spreads all of a sudden. There are certain agents or there are certain means by which they spread. So those are referred to as the modes of transmission, or in other words, we call them as means of spread. It can also be called as modes of transmission of communicable diseases. First comes air. There are various airborne pathogens which are present, which would be surviving in air. When you have air with higher degree of humidity, the moisture content in air, they can hold some little droplets which are thrown by the patients and which may also enter the respiratory system of the healthy person, causing an infection. Such infections are pneumonial infections or common cold. Next, the means of spread with the help of water. See, there are certain water bodies where it gets contaminated with the fecal matter of the patient, or some drainage outlets may go end up in a water body. So, water should be safe for drinking. If it is not so, then it can cause disease. Example, cholera. There are certain other infections also. The means of spread can be through food. We also call them as foodborne infections. In such cases, when the food is not properly prepared with a good quality of water, or neither if it is not properly covered after preparation, all these are the chances where the infectious agent may survive, and that could be the mode of transmission of diseases as well. Example of such foodborne infections are amoebiasis. Okay, so the next one is through sexual contact. So this disease causing pathogen gets transmitted from an infected person to a healthy person through sexual contact. Example, AIDS, syphilis. Followed by vector-borne infections, or the infections which are transmitted through vectors. Vectors are normally animals. It can be an animal, it can be an insect, it can be a small organism which transfers the disease causing pathogen from an infected person to a healthy person. Say, for example, in the case of malarial parasite, the vector is female Anopheles mosquito, which transfers the malarial parasite from an infected person to a healthy person.
We have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching BioPhobia. Kindly do comment below if you have any doubts or clarifications regarding this session. Thank you once again.